Hello FPL managers and welcome back for another video. My name is Jack and today we're having a look at the knee-jerk reaction for Game Week 23 as there has been lots of transfer activity coming into next game week. If you guys are enjoying the FPL videos, drop a like and subscribe as it really does help out the channel. And also click the notification bell as well. There's going to be lots more FPL videos coming your guys' way shortly, especially with lots more blank and double game weeks coming up. So stay up to date with all the recent videos. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. So in today's video, we're going to look over the most transferred in and transferred out players so far this game week and give you guys a recommendation as to whether or not you should go with the crowd and bring these popular transfers into your teams or at least some other popular transfers out from your squads. Also, we'll have a look at a transfer watch list as well, which are 8 players that we recommend you guys keeping an eye on as good transfer options for the upcoming game weeks. First of all, let's have a look at the most transferred in players. Obviously, Mitoma, a very popular pick after getting himself a late winner for Brighton against Bournemouth. He also picked up triple bonus points from this match, taking himself up to 11 in Game Week 22 for Brighton. That is a very, very impressive tally once again for the man at just £5.2 million in midfield. He could be a nice option to consider for the teams. One key thing to note with Brighton assets though is that they do blank in Game Week 25, plus they have a decent chance of blanking in Game Week 32 as well. So that is definitely something to keep an eye out for with those Brighton assets. So whether you want to go for him for a couple of weeks and then you're happy to bench him in Game Week 25 when he blanks and then look to bring him back in after that, we'll have to see. But he could definitely be a good punt if you're willing to bench him for Game Week 25. That is definitely something to look out for. Bukayo Saka, on the other hand, another very popular transfer in, as he, despite blanking in Game Week 22, has a double in Game Week 23, which is a great chance for him to put up great points for Arsenal, as he's been in pretty good touch and he's looking pretty dangerous recently for Arsenal, despite not putting up points against Everton in Game Week 22. As with both Brentford and Manchester City at home for Saka, I would expect him to get at least one return in double Game Week 23, so definitely a nice pick. Amara is also in the same boat, as despite not yet playing Game Week 22 with the double coming up for Manchester City in Game Week 23 with Aston Villa and Arsenal, it could be a great way for Mahrez to continue his superb form since the return of the Premier League season. He's been getting great consistent minutes for Manchester City, and when he does start, he tends to be fairly efficient as well. So he's definitely a nice option to have in the teams at just 7.7. João Cancelo, on the other hand, obviously went to Bayern Munich, so he's a clear transfer out. Definitely, if you're still in your teams, get him out quickly before his price does decrease even further, as you do want to maximize team value. Rodrigo also in a similar position to Cancelo, as he's out till 1st of April, I believe, according to Fantasy Premier League. So he's definitely a good option to get rid of as well. Another player that's probably going to decrease in price. And if you are looking for Leeds assets as well, if you're keen on getting those Leeds attackers in, maybe Gnonto and also Bamford could be good picks. We'll have to see how they go with Rodrigo's departure from the team. And Almiron also a good transfer out there, as he is now blank for 5 consecutive game weeks for Newcastle. So for me, he is definitely a good player to move on, especially since Newcastle will be blanking in Game Week 25. So he's definitely a player that I'd be looking to get out. And with all that taken into consideration, let's have a look at 8 players that we do recommend you guys keeping an eye on in our transfer watch list. So first of all, let's have a look at Max Kilman on the transfer watch list. He's a player that put up great points in Game Week 22, picking himself up an assist and a clean sheet against Liverpool, and he could be a very good option at just £4.3 million for Wolves, as their defense has looked fairly solid under Julian Lopetegui recently, and Wolves also have some great fixtures coming up as well. They've got Southampton away next in Game Week 23, and I believe their next 3 fixtures, none of them have an FPL rating of above 3, so I do fancy this Wolves defense for more clean sheets, especially after looking fairly solid against Liverpool. They didn't really concede too many massive chances, so just 4.3 could be a great way to get in a good starting Wolves centre-back that's playing pretty much every minute of the Premier League this season. Could be a great differential to have in the teams, as well as his ownership is pretty low. He doesn't have a massive predictor points across the next 6 game weeks, but I do think this could rise once this Wolves defense continues to improve, and I do really like him as a Game Week 23 asset since Southampton. Their attack hasn't been firing recently, couldn't score away to Brentford last week either. So definitely a great differential, worthwhile considering. He's a player that I haven't seen too much discussion about, and Wolves aren't really a team where people are looking to target their assets, but Kilman in the defence could definitely be an option worthwhile having a look at, as Wolves do look a lot more solid under the new system with Lopetegui. Another more obvious pick here is Martin Odegaard. His ownership has climbed massively recently, nearly up to 35% right now, and if he's not in your midfields, I do recommend people having a look at him, as at 6.9 he could be a great pick, obviously with the double of Brentford and Manchester City, and he does have one of the highest predicted points for double game week 23 with 7.8, so definitely a nice midfield option. Didn't look massively threatening against Sean Dyche's new Everton side, but I do fancy him for this double game week against Brentford and Man City. Plus, the good thing with those Arsenal assets is that they don't look to blank in either game weeks 28 or 32 or 25 for that matter. So pretty much now all the way up until the end of the season, you should be pretty good in terms of avoiding blanks with Arsenal. So to have those Arsenal assets in the team, it does allow you to have more flexibility around the squad, as you do have more starting players every single game week. And also looking at Odegaard's predicted points in the next 6, this is definitely reflected, as it does have the highest predicted points across the next 6 game weeks out of any player on this watch list here with 30, as he is simply starting and playing in most game weeks. Eddie Nketiah, another Arsenal asset with a fairly low ownership compared to some of those Arsenal players that people are looking at, whether that's Saka, Martinelli, or even Odegaard here, as we discussed. He could be a nice differential relatively at £6.7 million as a forward. Obviously got the double game week, plus playing in most other blank game weeks where some teams are blanking in. He could be a very nice option as well, a good rank riser asset to have in the teams, and he's actually expected to match Odegaard for points in game week 23 with 7.8. So if you're looking to spend a little bit less on an Arsenal asset and you may be looking for a forward option as opposed to a midfield pick, Eddie Nketiah could definitely be a nice option, and he does actually have the third highest predicted points across the next 6 weeks of any player on this watch list here. So another very, very nice pick. Akanji as well, another great differential pick for Manchester City, as they of course have their double. Getting in on that Manchester City defence, it could be worthwhile after coming off the clean sheet last week against Wolves. They should be carrying a fairly decent defensive form into game week 23, as they have Aston Villa at home, which is a great chance for a clean sheet, and Arsenal away, which probably is a slightly more tricky fixture, but definitely looking to target that Aston Villa at home fixture here in the double game week. Could be a great way to capitalise on those clean sheet returns for Akanji. Of course, he's got a good predictor points for game week 23 with 6.5 as well. So a great way to get into their Man City defence for fairly cheap, and he's been a consistent starter since game week 8. Akanji has played at least 70 minutes in every game except one for Manchester City, so he looks just about as nailed as they come in that Man City Premier League starting defence. So he's definitely a nice pick at 5 million to get in on those Man City clean sheets. Mitoma, as we touched on as well, obviously the most popular transfer in this week and one of the highest scoring players so far this game with 11 points. He could be a nice pick. The main thing to look out for, as I said, with those Brighton assets, is that they are blanking in game week 25 and have a decent chance of blanking in both game weeks 28 and 32. So you will have to be willing to drop Mitoma to the bench if you're going to hold him for those blank game weeks, or look to get him out of the side, as this could provide some selection headaches if you don't have enough starting players in those blank game weeks. So you don't have to waste a free hit if you don't have him in the team, or of course you want to plan those transfers out to get rid of Mitoma or any other players that are blanking, to avoid having to waste an unnecessary free hit or having to play with less than 11 players on the pitch or taking hits. So definitely something to look out for. But of course, Mitoma, a great player in great form right now. Ben Mee, another differential that I wanted to discuss after he put up a double-digit return in game week 22. He picked himself up that attacking return at plus the clean sheet, which was good to see for Brentford. And a 4-pointer, he could definitely be a nice pick, as Brentford do have good fixtures coming up. Obviously, this week against Arsenal away is a tricky fixture, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting him in this week, but after that Arsenal fixture in game week 23, Brentford do have a fairly good fixture run. Obviously, they do have the blank in game week 25 as well, so that's something to look out for. But outside of these two game weeks, Ben Mee could definitely be a nice option. Obviously, for those reasons of the blank game week, he's not going to have a massive predicted points in the next 6 weeks. Maybe after game week 25, it could be worthwhile keeping an eye on Ben Mee, as Brentford now have recorded 4 clean sheets in their last 5 games in the Premier League So definitely in great defensive form this season across their last 5 game weeks. So that's definitely a good asset to target. A 4.8 if you're looking for a differential defender. I believe his ownership sitting at around 10 to 11% right now. Ben Mee could be a nice pick there. Riyad Mahrez, of course, as we touched on, he's a popular transfer in. He looks to be a great differential option with around 10% ownership. I believe slightly below actually right now. So Mahrez at 7.7 could be a nice midfielder asset to have in the team. Obviously, lots of people already have Kevin De Bruyne. Even if you do have Kevin De Bruyne and you've got a spare Manchester City slot, maybe Mahrez could be the man to step in there, as he's got a great predicted points for game week 23 with 7.3, but just the third highest out of players on this watch list. Obviously with Aston Villa and Arsenal as his fixtures there, and he is expected to score pretty well across the next 6 game weeks, as Man City don't blank in game week 25, as he's got 28.7 predicted points across the next 6, which is the second highest of any player on the watch list here. And then the last asset here is Zinchenko. He's another nice differential pick that I would recommend managers taking a look at, as after having a look at his positioning in his most recent games, especially against Everton as well, he is getting fairly up the pitch, and he's not really sticking strictly to a left-back position. He's dropping into midfield, providing some great passes in behind, so he's got decent attacking potential from open play. With the amount of passes that he's playing forward into those attackers, he could be a nice pick as well at 5.2, and he's got a great predicted points for game week 23 with 7, so if you are looking for a differential Arsenal defensive asset, obviously lots of people do have Gabriel Saliba and Ben White as well, but Zinchenko could be a nice pick at 5.2 if you're looking to spend a little bit more than Ben White, but not quite as much as some of those other popular Arsenal centre backs. He could be a nice pick as well, as he is getting fairly far at the pitch and playing some good passes into some good areas, so definitely a player worthwhile keeping an eye on as well for the Gunners. Thanks for watching today's knee-jerk reaction for Game Week 23. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, drop a like and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel, and click the notification bell as well to stay up to date with all of the future FPL videos, as there's going to be lots more coming your guys' way shortly. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.